India is hosting the world's most important aviation summit, the IATA Annual General Meeting 2025 in Delhi after 42 years, and the mood is cautiously optimistic. IATA has revised its 2025 outlook, so the global aviation industry is expected to post $36 billion in profits in 2025, which is much higher than $32 billion that it posted in 2024, but it is less than what IATA projected as $36.6 billion earlier. The key concern is on aircraft deliveries. IATA is expecting only 1692 aircraft to be delivered in 2025. That's 26% lower than what IATA expected last year. 17,000 aircraft in the backlog, with some airline customers looking at a waiting period of 14 years. We spoke to IATA Chief Economist Marie Thomsen, and she is very positive about India. She said India is a shining example to the world of how aviation can be used as a growth multiplier. But she also sounded an alarm, saying that aircraft deliveries are not just hurting airlines, but are also curtailing economic growth.
It's not just a question of our share of GDP. It's also a question of how much our industry can improve other industries' share. That's where we have a multiplier effect that I think is unique among industries. And clearly, this is being expressed in India's economic policies, India's drive to develop more airports and use this economic policy for the good of the Indian population.
So this surge in India's aviation boom, airlines placing large orders, the travel demand booming, has happened in the last few years. How is IATA seeing this?
Well, we think that for sure this will cement India's position as the third aviation market, and I think India will rival China in terms of being the second aviation market. And there are, of course, geographical aspects that work in India's favor. It's a large country with a large population, a population that has now surpassed China's population in numbers. So that also suggests this growth potential in the Indian domestic market. And if we look at the US by comparison, much smaller but still a large domestic market, yeah, we see the same thing, that air transportation systems that have the benefit of a large domestic market tend to do really well.
How much time will it take for India to surpass China's aviation industry? Because they are too large. They are, I think there are 4,000 aircraft totally in China. And so how much road does India have to cover to reach there?
Yes, I can't unfortunately give you a year prediction, but I do think that pursuing this policy will keep India at the forefront, in the top three of global aviation markets, and that is, not only good for India, it's good for the rest of the world as well. So we are grateful to the Indian government for this enlightened economic policy. I believe that if countries all across the world were to understand that this is a top-level governmental growth and economic development strategy and not a small industrial policy strategy, then we get the right policies. If we get those policies, then that will accelerate the advancement of the Indian air transport market.
Talking about Indian airlines placing large orders, orders have been placed, but as IATA says, manufacturers are letting airlines down, and the projection that IATA has for 2025 has also been lowered to over 1,600 planes. So how many of those 1,600 planes are likely to come to India?
I wish I had that number available for you. I don't really, I'm afraid. But that's clearly a problem for the whole global air transportation industry, that we are not getting the airplanes that were ordered previously. There's a historically large backlog of planes and the longest waiting times ever. And this is capping, our capacity to serve not only the passengers and the cargo clients of our industry directly, but also the wider economy.